Yes, folks, welcome to Beyond the Pitch on Google Hangout. It's been a while since we did one of these. Joined, of course, with the fantastic Martin Walwork at MWork 7. Folks, apologize for not being on here for a while. We have been busy working on some other stuff in the background. As most of you will have noticed, we did a deal with NBC Sports for some of our podcasts to go over there, the Danny Higginbotham Show, the Weekly Manchester United Show. So we've been very busy in the background working and getting those details taken care of and getting those sent over. So now we can start servicing that platform and continuing to do stuff on Google Hangout. And today we are going to be talking about some of the major transfer stories that are circling. Some I have information on, some of them I don't. Martin, how you met?
Doing well now after a little frustrating with that connection. But yeah, all good this end, mate.
The Manchester Bill Gates. There's no FBI watching you, boy. You can't turn your computer on. They get looked at first of all. Yes, so much to talk about. The Eden Hazard story, of course, Neymar story, Mbappe story at Monaco, Jimenez, Atletico Madrid. Will he go? Perisic, the hair stuff, Zlatan, all of it. First of all, I'll start with a story in the Manchester Evening News on Bakayoko that says, Martin, that Bakayoko has told United that the one condition on him coming to Manchester United is that they qualify for the Champions League. I'm told that is a really, really well-sourced article, and that's true. So he has put that condition on United. He's not close to agreeing to deal with Chelsea. The other team, of course, in the mix is PSG. I think Monaco would prefer to sell him to United or Chelsea rather than PSG. But I'm told that yes, that's true. That he wants United, make sure United qualify for Champions League first.
Yeah, it's a little short-sighted that having these players only if we qualify for the Champions League. A little frustrating for me. I mean, look, Jose's got United going in the right direction. Absolutely no question about that. Got them playing some fantastic football. Champions League football is on the horizon. If we miss out this year, I feel sure it'll be next year. A little short-sighted that for me, but it's a player that we need. I mean, we watched him against City there. He's just phenomenal hold midfield. Sits in front of that back two, protects. It's excellent insurance to let them fullbacks bomb on. Obviously, Chelsea in the mix there. What we're hearing is that he's not close to that deal. But his agent has come out, I believe it was this morning, and said that his dream to play for PSG. And he is Parisian. So make of that what you will. Just reporting what we have read this morning. But I sure hope he signs for United. I think it'd be a fantastic fit.
Yeah, United, of course, want two midfielders this summer, holding midfielder and an attacking midfielder. And the other player that was linked heavily was Jimenez from Atletico Madrid, young defender who's come into last year of his contract. And he's a player United have been looking at for quite a while. A player United have tried to sign before. A player that I think he's played 15 games, started 15 games with Atletico Madrid this season. Very available defender. And I think that United are getting frustrated in some of their pursuits of players at the minute with it just hasn't gone the way they would have liked. They're not the Griezmann situation, which we'll get to in a minute, is not where they want it to be. Mbappe, everybody wants Mbappe. I think United are not panicking yet, but starting to get concerned. And Jimenez is a player that United like, the right age, 22, very, very good young defender.
Well, yeah, I think I was reading he's only started 7 league games. They've not lost a league game that he's started in. I think only 3 of them have led to wins, but it's still clearly struggling to get into that first team. So that's a little frustrating. Now, I think it's a player, like you say, right age, 21, 22. It's a player that Jose would bring on and develop. Is it the kind of player we want to try and develop with it? I think United have got to be looking for a more established centre-back, someone who's going to come in and change the ropes. But, he's a quality player. I think United would be best served looking elsewhere if it's going to keep dragging on this. But, I mean, what's he got? 12 months left on his contract and £56 million buyout.
Yeah, but
If
they're
that's the
not going to pay
case,
56 million for him.
no, I mean, if that's the case, what are you going to pay for him rather than wait 12 months down the line and get him for nothing, or wait 6 months and get? I mean, we know Jose won't want to buy in the winter break, but it's a lot of money. I mean, you're not going to get 56 million for a player with 1 year left on his contract.
But United have immediate needs, so worrying about getting them 12 months from now for nothing, that United would far rather pay the money and get him now. They'll not pay 56 million. I will say this: it may be that Luke Shaw gets a reprieve at Manchester United because just with so much turnover in other positions, United aren't going to want to continue to bring in 5, 6, 7 players. That's a lot of change. I think if you look at United defensively this season, they have the 3rd best defensive record in the league. So it's not a desperate situation. It's a situation that clearly needs addressed. I don't think he has particular confidence in either Smalling or Phil Jones, but maybe he feels like there's bigger priorities somewhere else. I don't know. But of course, United want another striker, whether Ibrahimovic signs or not. Rooney, of course, they want to push Rooney out. They were not happy that Rooney didn't leave to China. So Schweinsteiger, we know, is gone. We're going to continue to see more of those French players being pushed out that aren't being featured in Manchester United's first team. So I think that the Neymar link, nonsense. United are not going to go out and pay that type of money to Neymar, and it comes up every season.
You're talking about £173 million buyout. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, and I don't believe for 1 second he's any interest in going anywhere. And I think he's even said such that his future remains at Barcelona.
Yeah,
he's not.
No. He's not. Neymar's not going to Manchester United, and United are too canny now to be getting dragged into these things that they've seen happen before with Sergio Ramos, seen happen being used. Saw it under David Moyes, where United were dragged along by Fabregas. That game won't be played. Mourinho wants these signings done early. We spoke to Nemanja last week, and we asked him about how important it was that United get these players signed before the preseason starts in America, with no World Cup this season. Mourinho coming in, of course, last season he came in 1st of July. He didn't have the ability to sign players before that, which of course cost United Renato Sanchez. This year will be different. United want those deals done early. They want them done for the start of preseason. But I can tell you, they're getting a bit frustrated, Martin, at their inability to get some of these deals done.
Now, I think that's why you're seeing option B and C already being lined up. These guys are already lined up. That's the mistake that United have made in the past, where it's option A, and then when option A doesn't come through, it's what do we do now? I think it's a different, it's a different regime now. There's an option B and there's an option C. So if that's not going to happen, they're swiftly going to move on to option B and make sure they wrap that up.
Perisic was a player that was heavily linked in the Croatian media, of course. A lot of United fans not too happy about Perisic being linked. I have to say there's a lot of players United are linked with that I don't particularly rate or like, and Perisic is not someone that excites me. But I trust Mourinho's judgment. And he very, very rarely gets it wrong in the transfer market. He sees things in Perisic that I don't see, that you don't see, maybe. I don't know. But in Croatia, Croatian media are quite certain that he was there to talk to Perisic. It seems like a story that would add up. I must say I know absolutely nothing about it.
It's not a place you go and watch. It's not a place you just randomly show up and watch a game of football. For Jose to go out there and watch the game, he's watching somebody.
Maybe he's a Dinamo Zagreb fan.
Maybe.
Hey,
you mentioned Luke Shaw, maybe a reprieve. Just moving on. I'm hearing
Pizza Hut breathe a sigh of relief. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Danny Rose to Manchester City in a big money deal, which may pave the way for Luke Shaw to Spurs. Both moves would make sense.
Talk to people. Yeah, well, you talk to people that are close to things at Spurs, and they say that Spurs expect to lose either Danny Rose and Kyle Walker. One of them is someone, which of course makes a Harry Kane deal utterly impossible because Spurs won't sell him. It also means the Dele Alli link that was put in by Neil Easton makes it all the harder to do. Dele Alli, for me, is the perfect midfielder. Magnificent player. Young, English, has a big engine, scores goals, gives United the energy that they're missing in midfield. Obviously, United batting the defensive holding midfielder, which is going to be key to getting the best out of Paul Pogba. Hence the reason why they want Bakayoko. But the Dele Alli to me, it was just a matter of time before he gets linked away. Now, the difference between Harry Kane and Dele Alli's not a Tottenham academy graduate. So how committed is Dele Alli to Tottenham if somebody comes and offers him a lot of money? Look, Tottenham is an exciting young team and can offer you a lot, but Manchester United will make you a superstar. Yeah. Manchester United will take you on to another level.
Well, they're going to make you a brand, aren't they? He's going to become his own brand.
So,
not saying that's going to happen, but like you say, it makes it all the more difficult. And with Man City's need for fullbacks, that link certainly does make sense.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me, Martin, to see Dele Alli leave Tottenham. Not Harry Kane, but Dele Alli. And it's going to be players looking at the World Cup this summer thinking, where do I go and play next season? Dele Alli's not going to worry about the World Cup. Obviously, he's going to go no matter what. But you know, I look at if you're someone like Jimenez, for example, and you're not getting in Atletico Madrid's first team, you have to be looking at that saying, I need to get a move where I'm going to get first team football. But the same is also true for players that aren't getting first team football at United. And the question surrounds people like young Anthony Martial. You know, what decisions does he make this summer? Because he needs to be playing regularly to get in the France team. So I do wonder if a lot of players are going to be thinking about their international future this summer when they make decisions about where they go, whether they stay, where they go. And, you know, with the World Cup not that far away, Martin, that's a big decision. Some of the other one, David De Gea. Now, I said a while ago that United were very, very concerned about the David De Gea situation, and that's true. They are quite concerned that David De Gea will not stay at United, and of course they've looked at Donnarumma and they've looked at
Handanovic.
Handanovic was a player they looked at when David De Gea almost left before to Real Madrid. They had a look at him, had a sniff around him, and decided that when they were able to keep De Gea, there was no need to move for him. I don't know, Martin. I talked to the Milan fans; they rate him very highly.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, we know Navas isn't exactly setting the world alight at Real Madrid. Real Madrid have got to be in the market for a goalkeeper, and it's going to have to be Courtois or De Gea. The reports also saying Real Madrid 150 million for Hazard and Courtois. That's a lot of talk about Hazard being their number one transfer target this summer. So it's got to be a concern for United. And I just hope that we are seriously looking elsewhere in case this does happen. Because on that, by the way, how is it that goalkeepers are going for 30, 40 million? And these outfield players are going for 90, and we're going to see this summer. We're going to see a £100 million player. I almost guarantee it. By next summer, you're going to be looking at the first £150 million player. David De Gea is arguably more important than Paul Pogba has been for Manchester United, and you're talking about 40 million.
Because what it shows you that what goes into fixing a price isn't necessarily ability. It's about your ability to sell shirts. It's about your ability to be a marketable star.
Exactly.
That's why Wayne Rooney's still at Manchester United, Martin, right? Because of what he meant to United commercially. You and I judge him purely as a footballer. Manchester United judge him totally differently. David De Gea, and this is one of the reasons why Real Madrid are reluctant to spend that type of money on a goalkeeper. Juventus spent, 35 million on Gigi Buffon.
It's still a record.
15, 16 years ago. And he proved to be worth every penny.
Yeah.
Didn't worry about what type of shirts you sell. Goalkeepers are not glamorous signings, right? We have the same problem here in the MLS. They don't want to spend, they don't want a DP to be a goalkeeper, right? So De Gea is a football signing. This is one of the slight.
They're just not marketable.
But it's one of the slight encouraging things with Real Madrid is that because he's not a sexy signing, you wonder how far they're going to push a boat out to get him.
Yeah, totally agree. What else you got? Well, I got Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah.
Again, another one moving into the last 12 months of his current deal.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal are going to want in the region of 50 million for him. And not getting 50 million, I don't think. But even at 50 million, value for money, I'd say so. I mean, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, both sniffing around there.
Alexis Sanchez is a very, very, very good player, Martin. But to me, he's a £35 million signing this summer for somebody. Excellent player.
Simply because of the contract.
Because of the contract, yes. Last 12 months, very, very good player. He's in the prime of his career. I could see him going to Bayern Munich to replace someone like a Robin.
Yeah,
right?
makes sense.
He's not a type of player that is going to dig out games for you whenever you need a. If you're putting Alexis Sanchez into your team as the only match winner, you have a problem, right? Because he's not going to dig out a game for you whenever you need it. And as we've seen, his attitude, regardless of how you feel about your contract, regardless of how you feel about Arsenal, Arsene Wenger respect the football club. And his disrespect of the football club and disrespect of Arsenal is something that would turn me off, to be quite frank.
Is he not just showing that he wants to win?
No, Martin, listen, when you want to win, right, there's ways of showing that. Go out and show 100%. Don't be sitting laughing on the bench, right, whenever your team's conceding goals.
Totally agree.
You know, his petulant attitude over things, I think there's a better way of handling it. And his disrespect to the football club, you know, there's there's other ways of showing that you're committed to wanting to win. And look, it's understandable you get upset at Arsenal for not having ambition, but I just think he's going about it the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So for me, he would be a brilliant signing for Chelsea, and obviously Arsenal losing that type of player for that type of money, Martin, because you're not going to be able to replace it like for like with 35 million. Massive loss for them. Yep. The other one is this kid Mbappe. I hope I'm saying this right, at Monaco, who absolutely everybody wants. Monaco talking about 110 million for this kid. Clearly not
plus. Yeah. By the way, 18 months ago, you could have got him for 250,000. I think it was 12 months ago, £250,000. So in 1 year, you're making some profit there.
Well, Monaco, listen to their credit. They take young players, they develop them. Mm-hmm. The buying club set the price because we sell with whatever you're willing to pay.
And they could arguably lose half a dozen players this summer if they want to cash in.
I would be looking at who they're looking to replace Mbappe with and go after him. Right? They know what they're doing. They've got good scouts there. They know what they're doing, and they develop kids. And one of the things that it shows you is the value of trust in youth, that there's a massive suspicion of trust in youth in England. Yet Monaco have just dumped Man City out of the Champions League. Right? Why don't you trust youth? Why don't you give young players a chance? I know there's enormous pressure in England where a couple of bad defeats can get you the sack. But English clubs spent untold millions on academies. Surely you have better players in your academy than some of the donkeys that are playing for Stoke, some of the donkeys that are playing for West.
Well, they also spend untold millions on absolute garbage in the transfer window, and still don't learn. Well, I mean, how many of those Spurs players, you know, when they got all that money for Bale, how many of those Spurs players are still there and are still performing? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's crazy. Crazy money and to not give some of these guys a chance. Not Mbappe, he's frightening. I think I said on one of our shows a few weeks ago that he does remind me of a younger Thierry Henry. And I don't know if anybody's picked up on that, but that's certainly come out in the press. Even Thierry Henry himself saying he's just electric, he's wiry, he's dynamic, kind of like Rashford. He wants to make something happen every time he gets the ball.
I mean, one of the biggest fundamental differences between Mbappe and Henry to me is Mbappe's not a big game battler. So
you said it, not me.
But seriously, fantastic young talent, and
can't see him being there this summer.
No, of course not.
No,
Monaco he's going.
Real Madrid come sniffing.
Yeah, but if you look at Real Madrid's track record, Martin, they're not exactly sensible in the market. Eden Hazard would make sense to me to Real Madrid, but not Mbappe. Madrid don't
Hazard in and James out.
Well, Hazard's an established player. Mm-hmm. He would fit their model. Mbappe's a young player, doesn't fit their model. They're not spending that type of money on a young, unestablished footballer that's not going to sell shirts right away. No way. Won't do it. That's just not what Florentino Perez does. So Mbappe is a signing that, and here's the thing, Martin, you're going to pay a Galactico price for a kid that's not at that level yet. And here's the thing about that young lad. Wherever he goes, he's not going to perform every week. You're going to get a bit of Pogba about him. You're going to get some in different performances, and that kid's going to get slaughtered because of his price tag.
You're going to get Martial. You're going to get Martial all over.
Yeah. But Martial was outstanding in his first season,
Mhm.
absolutely outstanding. But you have to remember how young these players are. He's a teenager, he's a kid, and so to pay untold millions for a kid to be put under pressure to deliver every week, which he's going to have to do to keep the press off his back, or he's going to get reminded about that transfer fee. One of the things you can't scout is mental toughness. You saw with PSG whenever they collapsed against Barcelona, you can spend 500 million on all the best players, but you don't know how they're going to react when they're put under pressure.
Yeah.
That would be something that would concern me about that kid.
Well,
How's he gonna-
and moving to a complete. If he goes to Real Madrid, he's not playing anywhere close to the same system that Monaco are, where they took it in and hit on the break. Ideal system for a person with his pace and his skill set right now is a counter-attacking team.
Well, going out and playing in front of 5,000 in the Stade Louis, right, in Monaco with no pressure because everybody knows it's a young team developing versus, okay, now you're playing for one of the biggest teams in the world, whether it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, and now you have to deliver like you're a seasoned veteran. Because the mistakes, you look at Memphis Depay, Martin Memphis Depay comes to Manchester United, you get off to a bad start at your career.
Hard to recover.
It's very, very difficult to get the confidence back at a big football club, especially when you're coming to a club that hasn't had success in a while. The pressure is unbelievable. It's not like you can bed that kid into a team where the vast majority of the team's already set, where you've got 9, 10 players, you're like, all right, just let him in here because everywhere else is sorted. He's not coming into a settled team. If I was United, exceptional player that he is, I would not. I can see why Mourinho's looking at Perisic at 28 and saying, do we need another young player on the wing? You know, we've Rashford out there, we've Martial out there. Maybe we need someone with a bit of experience.
Yep, I agree.
You know, other than that, Martin, Eric, we'll finish up on Ibrahimovic. Of course, news that Ibrahimovic is in contract discussions with United. I don't understand why he would need to be in contract discussions with United, given there's a clause in there that can automatically be activated. So clearly, there's something in that clause that Ibrahimovic doesn't want a replicated contract.
Yeah.
Now, you and I are quite fortunate enough to do a lot of work with the Galaxy and have some very, very good connections there. They've been talking to Ibrahimovic for a long time. And last time we spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, they let us know that they were quite confident that they were going to sign him or could sign him. And the feedback from his camp was very positive. So I don't know if something's changed. I haven't spoken to the individual. But I think it's really important that United keep him for another season because trying to replace another key position, where given that defensive midfield position, Michael Carrick not getting a new contract, I think would be very. And Ibrahimovic has done enough to deserve a second season. You know.
Oh, I think you said it there. It's having to look at another position. I mean, we've got greater needs right now. They need to, keep him because we need that holding midfielder. We need to address, even though our defensive record is very strong, strangely very strong. We may have bigger needs in goalkeeping position, depending on what happens on that front. Centre back position, we know. Left back position, if he's not trusting Luke Shaw, which seems more and more likely, then we're going to have to address that. And then, like I said, the main thing for me is that holding midfield role. So if that's all got to be addressed, we don't want to worry about having to replace a 25, 30 goal season as well.
Could you tell me?
By the way, you can bring in Griezmann, and with no Premier League experience, you still don't know what you're getting.
Yeah. Just quickly on Griezmann, a couple of weeks ago, situation was looking grim. I think this situation is going to go back and forth. It's going
to be a Pogba situation.
He's a priority for United.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be neither Atletico Madrid nor Griezmann are going to make it easy. I think it's a negotiating tactic, and I think he will play for United. But could you please tell me what is so controversial about saying David De Gea is the best goalkeeper in the world? Because I got hammered for saying it by some people, and I'm going, just who's better than De Gea?
Yeah, tell me. I mean, the only one, Courtois, I don't think he's in the same league. And I tell you, Manuel Neuer is
anybody that watches Neuer every week sees how many mistakes that guy makes.
Yep,
good goalkeeper, but makes plenty of mistakes.
For me, David De Gea is standalone. the number
Best
one
keeper in the world.
So if you're going to hammer you, feel free to hammer me as well, because I'm not moving on that. Week in, week, you can think about the last genuine mistake he made. I can remember Courtois, I can remember Manuel Neuer's, and David De Gea does not make. He very rarely, I should say, makes a high-profile mistake. Very rarely, and makes big saves at key moments when he's been out of the game for long periods of time, like he has done this season. Last season was a different story. You know, we last 2 or 3 seasons before that where he won Premier League 3 years in a row. You know, he's been called upon time and time again. You know, this season, defensively, we've been so good. He's not had to deal with the amount of shots and amount of chances that he has in the past. But still comes up with the big saves when he's been out of games for long periods of time, which is the sign of an absolutely outstanding goalkeeper.
All great teams built out from the back.
Yep.
You lose a world-class goalkeeper, people look at the goals United don't concede and say, well, you know, we don't need a David De Gea for putting the chances away. Look, so much of the tightness of that defence is organised by a solid goalkeeper that you trust. De Gea is someone that back four trusts, and he has been been United's Player of the Year for the last 3 years. That's not an accident.
No.
So, world class, best goalkeeper in the world for me. I wouldn't swap him, and I'm critical, Martin, of United players whenever it's justified.
Yeah,
I would not swap David De Gea for anybody goalkeeper in the world. In no way. And whoever United sign in his place,
we're downgrading.
Is downgrading. Lastly, I want to finish up with Michael Keane, Martin.
No,
because Michael Keane is also a young lad. I saw him out here on tour, and I have to say, when I watched him on tour with Van Gaal, I remember watching United play Liverpool, playing the Galaxy and stuff. I thought, this kid's way off of pace. He's not good enough. He's getting skinned. He's slow, and he's now developed into a magnificent defender because he's been away from the clutches of Manchester United. He knew when to leave. He's been able to develop at a football club where there's not the same pressure. But another kid that I think he's just over a year left on his contract, Martin. Very, very gettable this summer.
I'd go all out, and I don't care that he played for us. I think it was a very brave decision from him. He's a Man United fan.
Yeah.
He came up through the United system and made a very, very adult decision, very mature decision to go and get his football because he wanted to play football. That's got to be a tough decision to leave your boyhood club, you know. And he did it. And just look how good he is. I mean, fair play to Rio Ferdinand, who, what was it, 3-5 years ago said the best 3 centre backs in England by this time would be Eric Dyer, Michael Keane, and John Stones. And 3 of them in the England squad for the recent qualifiers. So he saw it. He's playing wonderful football. Looked every bit an international footballer playing for England. I don't see what there is not to like. I'd go all out and try and get him.
All right, folks, let us know what you think. Let us know who you would like to sign. If you had to pick 3 or 4 players this summer, drop us a message either on Twitter in the comment section. Don't forget, you can catch our weekly show with Danny Higginbotham on NBC Sports, the podcast network, and you can follow us on Facebook and all that there. If you're on Facebook, like our Facebook page. And now we're out from under all that contract negotiations. We're free to get focused back on Beyond the Pitch on this platform as well. And a lot of the other things we've had hanging. I've got shirts I've got to get out to people. I've got loads of stuff we've got to get to people. So apologies for being late with that stuff. Martin, we'll go ahead and leave it there, mate.
Yep, mate. All the best. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, folks, thanks for listening. And thanks for standing by the show. It means a lot. We'll catch you later.